I shall never forget you, Broadway, your golden and calling lights. I'll remember you long, tall walled river of rush and play, hearts that know you, hate you, and lips that have given you laughter have gone to their ashes of life and its roses, cursing the dreams that were lost in the dust of your harsh and trampled stones. It's clearly evident what the poet Carl Sandburg thinks of Broadway in New York, but I wonder what Broadway thinks of him and his words. If streets could talk, I wonder what they might say to lovers, those who listen for the heartbeat of the internet. There was a great commercial on TV some years back for a luxurious automobile. Shot from the ground looking up, you heard a great booming voice tell you that it was the street talking to you. The voice then shoos the pigeons away and laments the fact that there are very few cars that are worthy of its asphalt and tar. That is, until this one particular automobile speeds by. If streets could talk, I imagine them to have all different kinds of voices. Some would indeed be deeply masculine, while others would be feminine. Quite a few would sound weary from advanced age and much abuse, bemoaning their frailties, while others, like the Autobahn in Europe, still might retain some of their youthful and exuberant spirit in their speech. In older European towns, and even a few in this country, you may find some that are still made of the original cobblestones. Late at night, after all the tourists have gone, you can still hear the wagon wheels as they roll over the uneven surface. Maybe it's just the sigh of the street after a boisterous parade. If only roads could speak, the stories they would have to tell. They'd speak of lives that began and ended along their winding route from one end of this country to another. How many babies have taken their first breath by the side of the road, I can't say for sure, but the statistics are tragically known for the ones who have lost their lives while traveling on them. They'd speak of high-speed chases, gentle Sunday drives, miles upon miles of backlogged traffic trying to get into and out of congested cities, and also to higher ground away from the sea's raging storms and tornadoes that also prowl the Midwest. They'd speak of their winding course through the shimmering summer heat, where they would conspire with the relentless sun to create mirages that would play tricks on an unsuspecting driver's eyes. They would also have a few laughs over the way their slick snow and ice-covered stretches, some distance on into winter, tested the same driver's mettle, and in between, a deluge of rain to confuse their travelers, thinking they should have been piloting a boat. Some of their famous brethren, like the infamous Route 66 and I-95 in the States, have had their stories made into movies and TV shows. There are new series that show how dangerous travel can be through the Rockies when blizzard conditions make the routes treacherous. One particular series is about the tow truck drivers who have to go out no matter the conditions. I can almost hear that route's voice echoing off mountainsides as cars and transports slip and slide. According to the source, Route 66, the Mother Road, it was a concrete two-lane highway with a speed limit of 35 miles per hour. It was the great highway that led west from Chicago, finally ending up in Santa Monica, California. listen to the sounds of rubber meeting road, and you can almost imagine hearing a whisper as you glide along them late at night. Newspapers and television networks have sent reporters on cross-country journeys to visit small-town America and report what they found in their columns and on their TV shows. Apparently, one of the most famous of these reporters had a mistress and another family in one of those cities he passed through from time to time on the job. Nobody ever knew. The road reveals very few of the secrets it learns. Over the great bridge, with sunlight through the girders, making a constant flicker upon the moving cars, with the city rising up across the river in white heaps. The city, seen from the Queensboro Bridge, is always the city seen for the first time, in its first wild promise of all the mystery and the beauty in the world. A dead man passed us in a hearse heaped with blooms, followed by 2 carriages with drawn blinds, and by more cheerful carriages for friends. And I was glad that the sight of Gatsby's splendid car was included in their somber holiday. F. Scott Fitzgerald writing in The Great Gatsby. A rope takes on a much different tone when it runs suspended through the air on a bridge, and its tone softens in the night. Carl Sandburg knew the voices of the street, even if what he heard was only a long-ago echo. Dust of the feet and dust of the wheels. Wagons and people going. All day, feet and wheels. Now only stars and mist. A lonely policeman, 2 cabaret dancers. Stars and mist again. No more feet or wheels. No more dust and wagons. Voices of dollars and drops of blood. Voices of broken hearts. Voices singing, singing. Silver voices singing, softer than the stars, softer than the mist. Words of Carl Sandburg. And when love hurts, those lonely streets echo the footsteps of one who is reminded of a time when they didn't seem so cold and impersonal. On Broadway, it was still bright afternoon, and the grassy air was almost motionless under the leaden spokes of sunlight, and sawdust footprints lay about the doorways of butcher shops and fruit stores. And the great, great crowd, the inexhaustible current of millions of every race and kind pouring out, pressing round, of every age, of every genius, possessors of every human secret, antique and future. In every face, the refinement of one particular motive or essence. I labor, I spend, I strive, I design, I love, I cling, I uphold, I give away, I envy, I long, I scorn, I die, I hide, I want. Faster, much faster than any man could make the tally. The sidewalks were wider than any causeway. The street itself was immense, and it quaked and gleamed, and it seemed to throb at the last limit of endurance. End quote. That throbbing could also be considered its voice. But there are other voices we miss due to the everyday noise around us. I once featured a story about a Native American and his friend on a street like the one described by Saul Bellow in that writing called Seize the Day. Through the noise of the cars and trucks, buses and taxicabs, this Native American could hear a cricket in a planter clear across the street to his friend's amazement. It's not difficult to hear, as long as you have the desire to listen. The Road with the Deep Voice was just an ad man's catchy approach to a car commercial. And there are so many vying for your attention, you need to be creative. And that commercial that featured the talking asphalt was certainly that, and more. There may come a time when technology will be able to provide your car with a way to communicate with sensors along the road. Right now, there are reflectors, or sometimes they're called cat's eyes, embedded in the center lines, the white lines, and along the side of the road to rattle your car if you start to leave the roadway or veer into oncoming traffic. Highway crews can also groove the roadway under painted lines as a way to catch your attention. Speed bumps on quiet residential streets can keep cars from racing through school zones. Long trips can result in highway hypnosis, and these are just some of the solutions available to keep drivers alert. One thing the road can't tell, however, is if the driver is texting. The laws are changing to prohibit drivers from texting while driving. In some places, the fines are pretty steep, and yet we still see drivers staring down into their laps as they cruise along the highway. The road has one last message for those who text and drive. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.